Welcome to this week's episode of Gaston's Great. Coming in at number 2 of our most downloaded episodes of Season 3 is episode 55, Kingdom Men of Gaston County. This episode had 249 total downloads. You're sure to be inspired by this one. Tune in to hear more about this organization. You won't want to miss hearing about all the fun events they host and how you can become part of this incredible group. This group will change your life. Listen now to hear more. Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 55 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we are coming to you once again from the international headquarters of GSM Services right here in downtown Gastonia, as we look forward to having some great discussions in the coming weeks and months. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We're highlighting another great organization this week as we highlight the Kingdom Men of Gaston County. We have Matt Vanderbilt with us today, who is, the leader of the organization, for lack of a better description. Matt, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Stephen, for having me. I did some research on you guys and scanned through all the great people you've had on here. I'm kind of intimidated.
Well, yeah, tell me about it. I get to be intimidated every week when we have one of these interviews. And just remember that the professional is Amy Anderson over here at the table. So you and I are just roadies this week for Amy. So we're going to get right to it. Matt, if you don't mind, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, anything that you want to share for our listeners.
Sure. Well, I'm originally from Michigan, and when I hit post-high school age, I thought, man, it's the time for me to move because I don't like snow, I don't like cold, and I always heard that the South was a warmer place to live, better pace of life. I came and visited once in December, and we played tennis, and I thought, this is the place for me. And so I moved on down when I was about 18 and started at UNC Charlotte, where I ended up meeting my future wife, Meg, who is a native of Gaston County. And I remember the first time I came out to her house, I got off of exit 13 at Edgewood, and it seemed like we drove every back road to get to her house. I thought, find my way out of here? Like, Gaston County, of course, in Charlotte, you hear all these things about Gaston County this and trailers and couches on the front porch and all that. And like, where am I going? Where am I going to come out?
So were you headed up, was that toward Bessemer City or toward Crowder's Mountain?
Toward Crowder's Mountain.
Okay.
Yeah. And the more I started spending time out here, I thought, man, this is an amazing place. You got Crowder's Mountain. You got, proximity to Charlotte. You got, just a great pace of life, great weather. And so, anyways, we got married. We graduated from UCC and moved here, and I have never wanted to leave. We've been married 26 years. We got 3 kids. One of them just got married in December, so now I guess I got 4 kids. And
wow.
We got animals coming out of our ears. I know you guys had Bit of Hope Ranch on here in the fall.
Did. Yep.
So that's kind of half of our arsenal of animals out there at the ranch. We got 50 acres of animals out there. And then at our house, personally, we have chickens, bunnies, cats, and dogs. So we love animals in the Vanderbilt life, and honestly, I love Gaston County. I love the name of this, of Gaston's Great, because I do some work in Charlotte at times, and I do love bragging on Gaston County because I do think it's a great place to live.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
So a couple things that I heard there. First, Edgewood Road. I don't think I've ever shared this on the podcast, but my parents lived on Bright Avenue when I was born, which is off of Edgewood Road, going toward Bessemer City.
Yeah.
And then secondly, you said 26 years. So have you already celebrated your anniversary this year, or is it later in the year?
Yes, it was June 8th was 26 years. How about you?
March 2nd was 26 years for us.
Is that right?
So yeah, we were married in the same year. So
excellent.
This is a good year. This is going to be the best episode we've had yet, Amy, correct?
And we got married at Stowe Garden before it really became something that we could not afford anymore. So I don't know where you guys got married at, but
we were one of the last weddings at First Baptist Church on Franklin before I guess it became Unity Place and gosh, I'm gonna be in trouble when I don't remember the name of the church now. Oh man, I'm in big trouble because I go to basically across the street. I go to First Methodist now, and so boy, I'm in trouble. Oh boy. All right, so we're going to move on. So this is good, Matt, because I know very little about the Kingdom Men, I'll admit. So that's kind of one reason I was excited about this. I know a few people involved. So kind of maybe combine a few questions. Combine? combine a few questions.
You just combine, yeah.
Yeah. So, tell us maybe what it is, how you got involved, and just kind of the history, mission of Kingdom, and anything you can share with our listeners.
Definitely. Well, as we were talking about before the broadcast about how life has changed so much these last couple of years, when COVID hit, what was that, March, April of 2020,
Yep.
and through 2020, those of us that did have relationships in churches and those type of settings, many of those things we got isolated
Immediately.
Yep. And so you go into the summer, and me and I'm part of Vision Church, and me and some of the guys, we were talking, and we said, we just miss getting together with other guys. Everybody's so isolated. So I think it was August of 20. We said, why don't we just have a like a prayer breakfast? It'll probably be outdoors because back then everybody was just so concerned about being inside and proximity. So we said, okay, well let's plan on having an outdoor prayer breakfast type thing in October. And we just start spreading the word to different pastors, friends, Mayor Reed, different people, and say, guys, let's gather some leaders together to see what it should look like in October. So over at Vision, we met in the gym, we spread tables out, we had about 20 leaders come in 2 different times, and we said, guys, what can we do for men in our community? Something that's not denominational, something that's not racial, something that's not, based on socioeconomic class. And it could just feel like a vibe in the room where guys were like, yeah, let's do something to get guys together. We were talking a little bit about F3. I think it kind of has that feel.
Sure, yep.
Where you just kind of break down barriers.
It does sound like it, yeah.
Yeah, and so we're in this room with these guys, and the second group of leaders we were with talking about it, they were like, well, what are you going to call it? What is it going to be? And I was just open with them. I said, I don't know what we're going to call it. And I don't know if you know Matt Kukin over at First ARP. Yep. And Matt kind of raised his hand. He said, hey, this is about just the kingdom of God, right? I said, yeah, it's not about any church. He said, kingdom of God? I said, why don't you call it Kingdom Men? I said, Matt, that's a great idea. Let's call it Kingdom Men. And so from that point, we started spreading the word and said, guys, in October, we're going to have an outdoor with a band and some food. And, the first one, we had close to 150 men showed up on a Saturday morning. We had a live band, which I love it because one of the elements of Kingdom Men is I think it reflects the diversity of our community. Okay. And that first band we had, you had guys like Ricky Collins, from City Church, and you had some white guys and some Hispanic guys and some black guys, and the stage just had the color and reflection of Gaston County on it. And we just came out there just to sing and praise God and then have a speaker and have some food. And everybody kind of scattered and said, wow, this really felt good. It was, for most people, it was the first time getting back together in a group setting since March. And so it got done, and guys were like, well, what's next? We said, okay, we really need to figure out what this is about. It's more than just a breakfast. And so we really spent some time analyzing what we're about. And I'm big on simplifying things. In fact, not to jump ahead, but question number 20 about what I would tell my 20-year-old self is that most of the times in life, if you can simplify things and slow down, you can really, I think, get more enjoyment out of life. And because I think we just try to complicate things too much. So with Kingdom Men, we said, we really need to simplify this. So we pulled some guys from different churches. We said, let's kind of have a pseudo leadership team and figure out what we're about. And ultimately, our simple statement came out and said, we're just about empowering men to be more like Jesus. We say, we're not trying to be more like Baptist or Methodist or Catholic or non-denominational or black or white or rich or poor. We said, if men are more like Jesus, we think our community's better. So why don't we just do that? Let's just help guys to be more like Jesus. And so we said, okay. We originally had shirts that had Kingdom Men on it. Then eventually we started getting a little tagline that simply said, empowering men. Because I like that word empowering. Because I think, everybody needs to be empowered for good things in life. And so best we can help guys to be empowered, to be more like Jesus, and then to go back to their church or go back to their family or go back to their place of business and just treat people more like Jesus would treat them and be better husbands and fathers and workers. And so from there, Kingdom Men started growing to where now we have multiple, quote-unquote, large events each year, 50 to 150 guys that come together for some music, for some teaching, for some food, and some fellowship. And there's no pointing toward a church. There's no pointing toward a denomination. It's just guys coming together. And in fact, the one we had recently out at, I don't know if you've heard of Kingdom Life Church out on the west side, They're a Hispanic-based church. And we met out there one night and had this type of event where you look out in the crowd, and it's getting the colors of Gaston County.
Right.
It's beautiful. And so so that's one part we do. We have events. We also have small groups where we get guys to meet at different churches. And the group I lead, we meet every other Saturday at Vision Church. We have guys from 5 or 6 different churches that come to the group. And we tell them from the start, we are not trying to get you to come to any of our churches. It's kind of like F3 again, where it's like guys get together. They know they're different. They have different backgrounds, different things, but they come together with a commonality. And we just open up the Bible and say, let's learn more about this and how we can go and just be more like Jesus. So we have the large events, we have the small groups, and then we also have service days, which we just finished one. We do it typically twice a year. And the one we just did, where guys went out and assembled some benches at some schools. They did some work down at City Set on a Hill, and then we went to another lady's yard. It actually happened to be Walker Reed's neighbor, and blessed her and her son with some yard work, because we just believe that men should serve.
Yeah.
That and again, when they're doing it, they may or may not be wearing Kingdom Men shirts, but they're not wearing anything political. They're not wearing anything with statements about what I believe and what I think. No, man, we just want to serve people and bless people, because we think when you act more like Jesus, that a community is better. So, in a nutshell, that is kind of the history of Kingdom Men and the heartbeat of Kingdom Men. And it's open to all guys. It's even guys who don't even go to church. We got some guys sometimes come to it and say, we just want to hang out with some guys and just be encouraged and make some friendships. And we just feel like it can make our community better to have that type of vibe among men in our community.
It's very F3-ish with maybe a little more, of the faith piece. Mm-hmm. Even though, F3 is a fitness fellowship and faith. The faith is non-denominational. It's very intentional to be non-denominational. Yeah. Even though here in Gaston County, it probably is a little Christian leaning. Sure. For sure. But it is, most people think it's a workout group. It is a leadership group. And its actual mission is to invigorate male community leadership. That's the purpose of F3.
Invigorate. I like that word.
Yeah, it's to me, empower and invigorate. Put those two words together on a daily basis, we might be accomplishing something.
Absolutely.
I really like what you said, and I'm gonna, at the risk of getting in trouble, Amy, you can edit this out if I get out of hand here. But my experience over the last couple of years, personally, with groups like F3, with what you're describing, with my interaction with community organizations, it's not what I see portrayed on the news. It's when I'm dealing with just individuals and groups, the diversity or however you want to describe it, the interactions are 99% of the time are positive. Yes. And so that's kind of, we talked a little bit beforehand. You asked, why did we start this? That may be, hearing you talk about that might be the biggest reason why we started this, is to get the word out that look at what your daily interactions are. What are you experiencing personally, interactions with our community and with each other. And I get most of the time. Listen, don't get me wrong. Our community has issues. Our country has issues. The world has issues. But the more we focus on that, I think the more it divides us. Actually, again. Sorry, I'm getting on my little soapbox here.
I think that's very valid.
Thanks to Matt. So you covered about 19 out of our 20 passages. No, I'm kidding.
How we jump to number 6, the impactful stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a couple I thought of. We had that first event in October of 20. We had our next one in January of 21, and it was out at First Assembly. It was our first indoor one, and we liked that facility because it's so large. Yep. So we said we can come in there, guys can spread out. And one story from that, we had put some banners out by the road that basically just said, "Hey, men, come and hang out with us." And so that night, we're having barbecue, and all of our events are free. We never charge a guy for anything, because what we do is we basically say, if you're a church or an individual or a business and you believe in what we're doing, give to our 501c3, and we will use this to buy books for the men, food for the men, shirts for the men, so that no man ever has the obstacle of it costs money. None of our guys make money. We don't have anybody on staff that gets paid. And we take all that money and pour it back in the ministry. So we're at the event, we're feeding the guys, and I meet this one guy, Chris, black guy, great just aura to him. You could just sense like, man, I gave him a hug the first time, like, man, I like this guy instantly. And he's in there and he's worshiping, enjoying it. We come out of the event, And what we design strategically is after the program, we then have coffee and dessert so men can mingle and talk. And I look down the hallway, and Chris is sitting on this bench in the lobby with a man who honestly looks homeless. And I look over there, and I realize Chris just came to this event for the first time. He saw a banner. He came to the event. And by the end of it now, he is already ministering to another man in our community. I mean, honestly, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking that there is something in people, and this is where the media doesn't talk about. There is something in people that want to do what's right and want to do what's good for people. And I looked over there, and I saw Chris, this guy who came in to be ministered to, and within an hour and a half, now he was ministering to another guy. And I thought, that is what the kingdom of God is about. And it was such a great win, such a great feeling. Another win, a couple months after that, we got to have the inaugural event in the Fuse. Walker Reed was so good to us, and the whole team at the Fuse was so good to us, so generous to get us in there the first time. And this was, I think it was April of last year. And we go in there, we had this community event where we had the pitching machine. We had all this stuff going on where dads and kids are mingling. There was 300-400 guys came out. Again, it was all free. We didn't charge anybody for hot dogs or playing, or we had the band and everything. And to look around and, again, to see the diversity of Gaston County, particularly dads and sons. There's just something to me that's special about that it's a big gap in our just whole country, that when you see a dad and his son come out and just do things together that are wholesome, that are relationship building, and Walker Reed was there, you get up to share, and you just see him just beam. That when he dreamed of that facility, it was for moments like that, and moments like with the Honey Hunters, and moments like with graduation ceremonies. And me and Walker just said, man, this is a great place to live. Yeah. It's a great thing to be a part of. And then the last story is just a couple weeks ago when we had our second time of the year service day, and I had contacted Walker and said, Walker, is there maybe a single mom who could use a blessing in her yard? And he chose his next door neighbor and this lady with her teenager. And a group of guys went over there and just cut stuff and pulled stuff down and cleared out her yard. And by the time I got there, she was just in tears, just amazed that men would come on her property and just serve her and her son. And then I went by to see Walker, and he's been having some health problems. We had a good chance to connect and talk, and you could just see him beam again of like, this is our community. This is what people do.
Especially men that might look different.
Absolutely. and they did look different. And for her to feel like, wow, I'm noticed, I'm cared for, my son. And in fact, one of the men contacted me last week, and he said, Matt, I know we cut a bunch of brush and left it by the road. He said, I want to make sure it got picked up because I'd hate to think that lady was left with all that. He said, can I contact her to find it? I said, absolutely. So just to see that men, they don't need to be in the spotlight. They just want to serve and help people. And I think that's a part of God's kingdom. And in fact, when you look in the Bible and it talks about Jesus saying, the kingdom of God is here, the kingdom of God is in you. And people are like, what does that mean? I thought the kingdom of God is heaven. The kingdom of God is when we act like Jesus and treat people fairly and with love, and we serve them. To me, that's the kingdom of God. And so the more we can have that in our community, I feel like we're winning.
Oh, sure. I do. So how many people, how many men you've impacted directly, or is that's probably a hard question?
It's probably close to 1,000 people now that have been a part of our events. We have, I think we got 6 small groups now meeting around town. Part of my vision, which ties into question number 9 of where we'd like to be in 5 or 10 years, I would love to see dozens of Kingdom Men groups, kind of, again, following the model of F3, of why not just duplicate that and put it in multiple places on multiple nights, different times, almost along the lines, I don't know if you know, the Celebrate Recovery. Ever heard of that program? Mm-hmm. It helps people that are dealing with addictions. Okay. And the goal with that is that in a community, kind of like AA, that you'd always have an opportunity to go to one of those groups when you're in a moment of need. Well, I'd love for Kingdom Men to have groups every night of the week, so that if a man says, I'm just really struggling tonight, I need to go hang out with some guys in a good place, right? Not in a bar, not in a strip club. But man, can I go and hang out with some guys and get some positive encouragement? And so ideally have these men's small groups throughout the week, again, totally free, that guys can come and have a safe place, and just grow it again to where more men can be impacted, because then that blesses churches, blesses homes. That's part of our vision for it.
Yeah, so to your point, I know F3 started, you mentioned going to the Show Museum. That's where we started, March of 2015. So here we are 7 years
Wow,
later,
7
and
years in,
it's 7 days a week. There's 25 or 26 workouts now in Gaston County.
Really?
Over the 7 days. Now,
So-
some of the locations have repeat workouts.
Sure,
So
sure.
but there's probably 20 different locations that we're.
So how often do you tend to go?
Well, when I am not dealing with any injuries, a good week for me is 4 times.
Really?
Yeah.
So which locations and what times do you go?
So Shield Museum, Martha Rivers. Well, we're so early, the park isn't open yet. So we meet there. Is it Pelicans or Snowballs? Pelicans, I think is what it's called now. So we meet there Monday and Wednesdays. And then today, when I'm running, it's a running group that we meet at Publix, the Publix parking lot there in Southeast Gastonia.
Yeah.
And then Sunday is I'll go to Harris Teeter. That's in the same part of it. But we're in Dallas, we're in Belmont, Cramerton.
That's really good.
So I think that we just started one actually up in Ranlow. In the past few weeks. So we're covering a lot of. So to your point, that's what it takes, right? It takes a couple of guys to lead something and to expand kind of what you're talking about. Yeah. So I mean, you kind of just mentioned it. Is there anything to expand on that vision 5 or 10 years from now, or is that just the small group thing? Because ultimately, is that really how you make the greatest impact? The events are good, but the small group
is the greatest impact. It really is. And ultimately, 5 or 10 years from now, I would love people from outside of Gaston County to look at Gaston County and say, man, what is different about that community? Yeah. And to a small degree, Kingdom Men would be a part of that, where we'd say, more men are faithful to their wives. More men are good husbands, good dads. More men are good workers. That literally, you'd go to interview somebody and it'd come up in the conversation that they're part of Kingdom Men, and that would be a good attribute of them. You say, yeah, I know that. Like an F3. Wow, you're an F3. Okay, you must, have this. And truly, our community would be better because Kingdom Men is here. And originally, we kind of got ahead of ourselves. We said, man, let's try to duplicate this in other communities. We went out to somewhere about an hour from here, and they said, can you help us do this? We went to them and tried, and it was too hard to try to create it like an hour away. So maybe in time we can do that. But in Gaston County, we just love it for it to grow and have just hundreds and hundreds of men involved in it, to where it just has a reputation where people are in need, and mayor's in need, or the city council say, can Kingdom Men help us with this? Absolutely. That's what we'd like it to do.
So impacting men, and also a resource for that others might be aware of. So you've probably already answered this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Sure. Is, being kind of focused on why Gaston County is such a great place. I mean, why, maybe say it differently, or why is Gaston County better? Because Kingdom Men is here.
I think it's better because it gives kind of a target for men that I've been in ministry for 25 years, and I just have known so many men that have drifted in their marriages, drifted in their addictions and different things, and said, look, if we can give them a target that says, this is what a kingdom man looks like. In fact, one of my heroes in this is Tony Evans, the pastor out of Texas, and he actually uses that term kingdom man stuff, to where we'd love to rally guys and say, this is a great target to have, to be a kingdom man. And you can be a Baptist or a Methodist, or, you can be whatever denomination or color you are. But if you think about God's kingdom, it will help you to be a better man. In fact, one of the scriptures I love is in Ephesians, where it talks about, the men and the women and their roles as husbands and wives. And a lot of times it's misinterpreted when it says, wives, submit to your husbands. Because I tell the guys in Kingdom Men, I said, look, that type of submission means if you're in a home with your wife and something is about to come through your front door, are you willing to stand between that something and your wife? And you basically say, wife, would you like to submit to me? And that means if there's someone coming through there with a gun, I will take it for you. And so when the way that plays out in our community, so when you're, in the grocery store and someone needs help, will you serve them like a kingdom man? In your church, will you, protect your pastor and bless your church? In your workplace, will you be a man of integrity? All those pieces where people say, man, this community is better because more men are thinking about God's kingdom rather than thinking honestly about Matt's kingdom, about Stephen's kingdom. They're thinking about God's kingdom. And so the more we can help men to have that kind of target, we think we can be a better community. And that make me proud if that's part of my legacy. Whenever I die and go home and God says, okay, Matt, you left Gaston County a little bit better because there's more men thinking about God's kingdom, I'd be pretty pleased with that.
Or maybe we should stop the podcast after that. That was good.
Thanks.
So, yeah, you've kind of you've really done a great job kind of describing this. So, what advice would you give someone wanting to get involved? I mean, before we finish, we'll make sure our listeners know how to donate, how to get involved.
Sure,
the website's
sure,
terrific, by the way. I spent some time.
Oh, thank you.
I spent some
I
time on the
appreciate
website
that.
yesterday,
Yeah.
and so just what advice would you give somebody wanting to get involved, whether it's volunteering, whether it's getting their church involved, or
Yeah.
I mean, what would you?
Oh, absolutely. Well, we definitely love to walk people through. I always call things test drives. You know, who wants to go to a car dealership and choose the first one and boom, you bought it, made a commitment. Man, you like to test drive things. So same thing with Kingdom Man. We say, look, first of all, start on the website, surf it. Go to our Facebook page, Kingdom and Gaston, surf it. Contact us if you have questions. Come and visit a small group. Come and visit one of the large events. Come and try out the service day and any of those things. Say, if you even just come to any of them, man, we'll give you a shirt. And in fact, our stock was low. I was going to bring one today, so I will be back to get you a Kingdom Man shirt. And because, we think there's something that hopefully gives people a good sense of positive pride when they're like, wow, I'm wearing something. I'm a part of God's kingdom. I'm a part of a thing that is bigger than myself. And so we say, why don't you come test drive any of these? If someone has a church, like, for example, we mentioned Matt Kukin, First ARP, those guys, they said, hey, can we come to one of the events and try one of the thing and try a small group there? We said, absolutely. If you want the materials, we'll give you the materials. You want shirts, we'll give you shirts. And in fact, then what we do is some of the guys from our lead team, we'll go, if they let us, go to their first small group at their church and say, man, let's sit with you. Let's help you try it. Let's help you so you're not intimidated. You're not nervous. I mean, because a lot of guys are nervous. They open the Bible and they think, I have to know all of this to talk about any of it. And no, you don't. You really don't. That's where grace comes in. We just kind of, help each other on the journey. And so if guys check out our website, our Facebook page, come and visit a group, visit an event. We can come meet with them. I love meeting leaders and just talking, getting to know them, and say, however we can help you, let us know. And so we've definitely seen nice, slow, steady growth. In terms of giving, I even tell people, look, if you want to give to it, that's great.
Sure.
But guys that believe in this, they're already giving to it. Companies are, churches are. So there truly is never like an ask at the end of my presentation. I'm like, look, if you believe in this, give to it. If you want to wait, that's fine. And that's what I tell people, so that we can proudly say that men never have to pay for anything. It's never an obstacle. So in terms of being involved, I would love anybody who's listening to this saying, man, I'd love to connect with Matt. Man, they could get on our Facebook page or website. They can get on my personal Facebook page, message me. That's not usually the quickest way I respond. I don't know about you, but I will at least be aware of it and get back to them. And love for them to check us out and look and see our photos and our testimonies, our stories, and hopefully it stirs something in them. They say, I want to be a part of something like that.
All right, that's very good. So before we kind of move on, is there anything I haven't asked that I should have asked about the Kingdom Men? I mean, again, we'll make sure to kind of swing back around and finish up after we get through these really important questions here in a second.
I think people just I know in our society there's a lot of tension even about spirituality these days, and what do churches think, and are they mad or who's whatever. I'd say Kingdom Men are not mad. Kingdom Men are here to love and serve people. And in fact, even if people think differently, and in fact, I love meeting with people that think differently than me. I spent a lot of time on staff with Dickie Spargo. I'm sure you know Dickie.
Yes. And
that's one thing I learned so well from Dickie is that you're made better when you spend time with people that are different than you, and you're open to building relationships. And so definitely want people to know that with Kingdom Men, we're not here to march or to rant or to I have a phrase I like a lot. It's that you can either make a point or you can make a difference. And I think it's more important for us to really want to make a difference in life, because a lot of people just want to make a point, and Kingdom Men aren't here just to make a point. We're here to make a
I think when I was young, we had the discussion here. We do some leadership training and leadership stuff, and F3 is a good example of where I've learned as well. When I was younger, I used to think differently, but I've learned that leadership to me is really about empathy and humility. Mm-hmm. And if you can model those two things, and humility requires you, empathy and those two things together require you to, what I've had to learn the hard way is keep my mouth shut more than I open it. But that's how you interact and learn from others that are different than you. And you can learn something from everybody that you meet or everybody that you interact with.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's hard.
It is hard. It is hard.
Yeah. It shouldn't be, but boy, it is. Especially I learned so much from people like Amy on how to do podcasts and not be a buffoon every day here at GSM. So I appreciate you sharing all that, Matt. And we're gonna, we do try to we talk about some heavy topics on a few every now and then on this podcast, and we do like to keep it maybe light a little bit to talk about some Gaston County specifics.
Sure.
And I'm going to call this this is going to be the Kingdom Men round of questions.
Okay.
I come up with
ask whatever you want.
All right, so
whether it's on the sheet or not, you can.
Correct. Yeah, I might make something. I might
come
come up with some Ohio State questions as we're going, or maybe we can change your F3 name in the middle of this.
We're on a winning streak though against the Buckeyes on football. So
that's true. Of course, we'll see with this. All this we're recording this on the week of July 4th, so all this crazy conference realignment, and I'm afraid my Wolfpack's going to get left behind, but we'll see what happens. So, now, what is when you're not involved with doing things with the Kingdom Men or your church? I mean, what are some of the favorite things you like to do here in Gaston County?
Actually put on there favorite thing to do or favorite places to be. Honestly, one of my favorite places is Bit of Hope Ranch.
Okay.
I know you guys had on here in the fall. Yeah. I take my dogs walking out there. It's my place to just be out in nature. It's my place to work hard. And like yesterday, I dug some posts for Meg out there, so I get sweaty. But it's a great blend because we spend a lot of time at desks, on computers, in meetings, and man, it's nice to get outside. It is it's just typical Gaston County, rolling land, some woods, some water, some animals, and so I love getting out there. I also even closing in on 50. Now, how old are you?
I'm 51.
51. I'm closing on 50 in September, and I still play basketball one day a week.
Oh, good for you.
So that's pretty fun. And I might just try F3 too again, see if I can get my body back in shape. I like creative exercise. I mean, I still go to the gym some, but it's nice to do stuff that's a little bit different, and it challenges you. Kind of think it helps keep you young, especially when our bodies aren't falling apart.
Yeah. I gave a good example. Monday, we did like a double workout, and I overdid it a little bit with my F3
What kind of stuff
guy.
you guys do?
So, I ran before the workout at Martha Rivers, and we, and I've been dealing with some minor health issues the last few months, so I haven't been doing as many boot camps as I have, but between a gentleman called the workout called the 1776 workout. So you run a mile, then you do 17 reps of something, 7 different exercises. Or actually the 76 reps of 7 different exercises, and you do them 3 times. I mean, it's legit.
Sounds intense.
Yeah. and full disclosure, I didn't do all the reps. I couldn't. Literally couldn't do all the reps. So I might have, and it was a little muggy, a little humid. But yeah, to your point, that's the unique thing about F3, and it's the workout that get guys out, similar to what you're doing, but it's the fellowship and meeting the guys that I probably wouldn't have interacted with otherwise. That's what brings you back. And keeps you coming. So I'll take that as what we call a hard commit. That's what I just got from you.
Absolutely.
And so you let me know any workout you want to go to. I'll share all the website information again for F3 Gastonia. And
yes.
And you can listen to that our episode of Gaston's Great where we had F3 on there, myself and 2 other.
Did they give any secrets like behind the whole?
Not really. I mean, it's a pretty open book when it comes to F3. So what about your favorite dessert shop or bakery or something here in Gaston County?
It was interesting when I thought about that, and I realized that it's my mother-in-law's kitchen. It is. I like Barry's Bakery. I like Jackson's, but when my mother-in-law can make some chocolate delight or some strawberry pretzel stuff.
That's a good answer.
Woo, man, it's good. Have you got a favorite desserts or place to eat?
Favorite dessert, I would probably have to say Tony's. Tony's ice cream.
Yeah.
Previous season, that was one of our questions. What your favorite Tony's ice cream flavor?
Oh,
and we're kind of trying to mix it up a little bit. And my favorite restaurant is probably, I don't know, Pita Wheel.
Oh,
or Web Custom Kitchen.
Oh, nice.
What about you? Last place you ate, and what did you order?
We actually did get some Jackson's over the weekend. I love getting takeout from there. It makes my wife smile. Oh man. That's good. But we love going down to Amberjacks. That's definitely one of our favorites.
Okay, and down New Hope Road.
Yeah, that's good eating there. But yeah, we're pretty simple people.
Yeah.
Me and Meg are. Love, and it was interesting. We had a family that had moved here a couple years ago. We met with them, and they said there was nowhere to eat in Gaston County. In fact, they picked one of my favorite places and slammed on it, and I was like, "Did you not just move here? And now you're like picking on?"
Wow.
I was so insulted, and I thought, man, there are so many different places to eat here.
What would they say about Gaston County 20 years ago?
Oh my goodness, yeah, they'd be appalled.
But now, yeah, I mean, you can go weeks and weeks and weeks and months, actually years, and not eat at the same place
Absolutely,
if you really wanted to.
Totally. Now, I have to edit it out. I don't know, but it was kind of what I call the Atlanta effect. That I feel like some people move here from Atlanta, and they just look at us as kind of like the stepchild. I'm like, well, then either move back to Atlanta or appreciate what we have.
Oh no, we're not going to edit that out.
No,
that's in.
There you go.
That's
Thank you.
I
appreciate it. I respect. I mean, I stand up for Gaston County, but
so you a North Carolina mountain or beach? More of a beach person.
It depends. If we're definitely going for just a relaxing vacation, we head to the beach. Love that. But me and my wife also like heading up to Boone or those areas to hike a little bit, take our dogs.
Yeah.
How about you? What's your preference?
You know what? Growing up, I was a beach person, but my son went to Western Carolina. My daughter is at Appalachian State, so the last 5 or 6 years, we spent a lot of time up in the Western, going toward, because Silva is a great town right there at Cullowhee, and we've really fallen in love with that area, and then spent a lot of time up in Blowing Rock and Boone area as well. So, for me, more relaxing probably be the mountains, frankly.
Yeah, me too.
Just nature, and there's something very peaceful about that.
What's your son gonna do for a career?
He actually today is July 7th is his first day of private pilot license, getting his lessons. Really? So he has out at Gaston Municipal Airport. That's what he believes. I think that's his current what he thinks he wants to do, and so we'll see. How
you feeling about that?
You know what? He seems really excited about it, and if that's something that he can find some, I'm a search for joy person. I'm not sure you can get how much joy you can get out of work. I get joy here because of the people that I get to interact with every day. But if you can find that something that gives you joy and feels like your sense of accomplishment. I know it seems from men, I think, feel a sense of accomplishment. I mean, most people probably do, but men especially need to feel a sense of accomplishment in what they're doing day to day. And if he can get that from that, then let's hope that's something that he can find. But we'll see. He's 23, and I was 23.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
I had no idea.
We live right around the corner from Villa Roma, so we pass underneath the flight path a lot. So I will keep an eye out.
Okay, yeah. So I'm interested to get because to see how his day went. And exactly what he did. So
good for him.
This is a question. I guess I might modify it, but we already know what the answer is. But I want to ask it anyway.
Yeah.
So UNC, Duke, NC State, or
out of those, and in fact, now you said you're a state alum, right?
I am.
Okay. So just recently, I finally got to see the 30 for 30 on them and the 83 team.
Oh wow,
which is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh man. So
my dad went to NC State, so I grew up. And I still remember that moment distinctly. I was 12 years old when that pass was.
That's right.
Was put into the basket. Yep.
Definitely. But no, when I moved down here, I loved seeing the ferocity of the rivalries. I tell you, out of those, I will not root for Duke because I think, especially when they went the one and done route, I think Coach K really sold out, and I don't like that. I'm not a big Carolina fan, but honestly, I was rooting for them with the run they had.
Yeah, it was a good run.
That was fun. But and then definitely, I'd love to see kind of the underdog state rise up among them anytime they can. So.
Well, something that we mentioned just a few minutes ago about this whole conference realignment thing that was going to happen. I guess my big concern would be the loss of those rivalries, is what would happen, especially in a conference like the ACC who's been around for so long.
Yeah, it's very disappointing because college athletics still has a chance to be as pure as possible, even with NIL and stuff like that. But when you start losing those rivalries, it's just a shame because the reality is most of those young men and women will not play professionally. So this is their last chance to have sports that like really matter.
Yeah.
And for, competitors like us, there's something to that about, rolling the ball out and actually having a game that matters, and then you start paying, and then there's not rivalries, and then you got UCLA playing against Maryland.
That's weird. Yeah, that's going to be strange.
So,
Matt, what is something very few people know about you?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if y'all have asked yourselves that, because, it's hard to kind of come up with something that really most people don't know. And so I came up with a really strange one, because, I could have said, well, I've parachuted 3 times, that was fun, and, different things. But so the thing that very few people know about me is at our house, we have a pool, and our deck next level kind of like overlooks it. And what most people don't know is that I have full intentions that I am going to jump off of the roof onto our pool one day. And my wife, I mentioned it to her, and she said, "No, you're never going to do that." I said, "Yeah, I'm going to do that."
Yeah.
Because, there's just still something inside of me that's like that little boy that like just needs that adventure, that fear of like you're about to do something and it's really kind of scary, but you're just going to do it. And I'm talking about, being responsible.
Well, the old Southern redneck thing that says, watch this.
Watch this.
Yeah, see what happens.
I'm going to tell my son, hey, get Facebook Live out. I'm going to do it. And it's not that high. I mean, it's, whatever, 9 or 10 feet, but you're going to have to project a little bit. So we definitely got to be ready to run and jump. But I'm going to do that someday. And so you guys be watching for that on Facebook someday.
So if Meg is listening, I did not encourage that. That was all on his own. Answer that. Oh, man. So how about a book you would recommend to our listeners, or blog or article, or just something that you would?
It was interesting. I got exposed to another podcast site recently. It's called Sports Epreneur. Like it's combining the word sport and entrepreneur.
Okay.
And one of the side jobs I do is I'm a chaplain. And one of the companies I'm chaplain with in Charlotte, the CEO was on that site, and he sent me the link. And it's really cool. So sportsepreneur.com.
Okay.
And his podcast, which actually I'll send you a link if you ever drive and you got 25 minutes. It was really interesting. First, he talked about playing baseball at Carolina, playing baseball in the minor leagues, and just the rough and tumble of that. And then he took some principles from it into being a CEO of a company in Charlotte. And it was really good. I listened to it. I thought, man, it completely exceeded my expectations. And so I was impressed because, sometimes you pop a nose and it's like, oh, man, this isn't worth it. But it was really it was interesting.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I mean, one reason we started this probably is because I'm in the car, I'm listening to podcasts, all kinds of different podcasts. I'm rarely listening to the radio, and I sure don't listen to news radio anymore in the vehicle.
Good choice.
So, again, kind of staying focused on being about Gaston County. Besides Kingdom Men of Gaston County, why would you say Gaston is such a great place?
It's great. Some of the high level stuff of the weather, the pace of life, the proximity to Charlotte. Those things are fine. But to me, what is more so are the relationships, because I love that in our county, I feel like you truly can connect with people in all ranges of it. You go over to Mecklenburg, it's so massive. You're not going to. But in Gaston County, you can go up to Mount Holly, Stanley, down where we at right before the border of South Carolina, and you can know Mayor Reed, or know some councilman, or know the principal here.
Right. If
you try, there can be so much interconnection. I don't know if you ever saw that show Touch. I think it was Kiefer Sutherland was in that, and it talked the concept that there's like a red thread that runs all over, and they cross and cross and cross and cross. And if you're really intentional, you can figure out how to cross threads in ways that make things better. I mean, you really you leverage it for positivity, and that's just one thing I love about our community. I feel like through pastors and school systems, and Jeff with the school system, all these different people. If you really try hard, you can use those connections just to make life a lot better, and it's built on the positivity of relationships. And so to me, that's my number one thing that I like about our community. Number two would probably be the diversity of it. And I know that is almost like thrown out these days. It's like a badge of courage to have diversity. But the reality is I have friends that are Black and Hispanic and Asian and white and rich and poor and all this whole mix. And I love that. I really do. I don't want to, just hang out with people that are like me. I think that type of diversity, it could just make us better and make life just more exciting. How about you? Why do you think Gaston's great?
Well, I wouldn't be able to say it quite as eloquently as you did, but I do think it's ultimately the people in the relationships that I've been able to develop, mostly through the opportunities GSM has provided me, but through my community work and frankly the customers we've served, the families we're able to impact. But yeah, it's the people. It's close enough to Charlotte, as you mentioned, but we still have the what I call the hometown feel.
Yes.
And it's not too big. It's not too pretentious. Like I might claim other places I've visited or spent time at. So, So again, that's good. I appreciate that. So this is my favorite question. I think you mentioned a little bit about this answer already, but I'm gonna revisit it. So knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Man, we've changed a lot since we were 20. Haven't we? Oh my goodness. One of my favorite quotes, I will attribute it to Andy Stanley. You know him, the pastor down in
sure do.
Atlanta. And he says that the secret, and actually he got it from Howard Hendricks, to be fair, but he said that the secret of concentration is elimination. And the way I look at that is, I said, if you have a wall full of lights and you want people to focus on a certain couple of lights, you need to turn out a bunch of lights. Because if there's 100 lights up there, it's really hard to say, can you see that one right there, right there? But if you turn out like 90 of them and there's 10 of them left, you say, can you see those? So I think in our world, there is such a value attributed to being busy that people feel like you're important if you say you're busy. And say, actually, I don't want us to be important and be busy. I want to be impactful, and I want my life to matter, and I want to lay my head down at night and be content. So to me, if I went back to 20, and this is what I'm just trying to tell myself even each day now, is, Matt, the more I can simplify. Now, simplify doesn't mean being lazy, because anybody who knows me is like, I have a high drive and a high work ethic, so this does not mean being lazy, but it does mean simplifying to where you say, I'm going to try to figure out what things I can eliminate, I can cut out of my life, and that's hard because, when you got kids or grandkids or a lot of responsibilities, when you say no, usually somebody's not happy about that. But if you can intentionally say no to some things and simplify so that you can give more time to the things that really matter, or honestly to the people that really matter, I think you can get a lot more contentment and satisfaction out of life than just running ragged. And, I think social media has its place. I think a lot of social media has just like tried to brainwash us into thinking that we got to be busy, we got to do more, we got to impress all. No, so I would say simplify, and my second part of that, and slow down. And that's hard for those of us that do have a high drive, want to do a lot. But if we could slow down and simplify, and I think we'd see that life is a lot more enjoyable. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that concept?
It sounds like have you written a book? It sounds like everything we talked about. Sounds like you could write a book about what you've talked about.
No,
today.
I appreciate that. I just I enjoy communicating. I try to help people when I communicate, so that's part of my gift.
Yeah, I think part of that for me, I think when I've been asked that, it's the lack of perspective I had when I was 20. The things that seemed really important, and the decisions I made that seemed like disasters at the time really were not. And to me, it's similar to simplify and slow down. And we, in the world of information, so much information at our fingertips with these devices. Gosh, it's just, and then to the kind of the same point, men, we cannot multitask. Right. If we want to get something accomplished, I've seen my wife and people like Amy, frankly, they're capable of that on some level, but I cannot.
Oh yeah. When you're talking to your wife, man, you better turn this thing face down.
I mean,
and don't have a TV behind you in the restaurant, right? It's like, because you'll be.
Especially if it's sports zone, have to strategically sit to not be distracted.
Yep.
So we live in a world where there's so much distractions pulling at us to take us away from what's really important and keep us from having that sense of accomplishment when you do, or impact when you do lay your head down at each night. So,
I got one more question for you. You said you're 50.
51.
51. Okay, so. Lord willing, if he gives you till 80, I think most men now live 75. So what do you think God wants to do with the next 20 plus years of your life?
I thought I was the host of this podcast. That's it's a good question. Actually, I will be 2 weeks from today. Actually, I will be 52.
Okay.
So before this podcast actually airs, I will have already turned 52. I think what I've learned, and I've had great pastors at First Methodist Church since we joined. But Jody Seymour was the pastor when we first joined 24 years ago now, almost.
Uh-huh.
And one of his sermons that struck me was where can you make the most impact? And what I realized was it's probably with the 250 families here at GSM, because I spend so much time here. And so I think that's where how can we as a company serve those team members, improve their quality of life, their outlook, and help them serve our community. We just really have that opportunity here, where I used to think it was a much bigger thing.
Sure.
What can we do here in Little Gastonia?
Mm-hmm.
But I think I've learned over the years that between church, between GSM, between my Rotary Club, United Way, I already have all the reach to impact.
Yes.
So and then I would also relate that to this is where we can control things too in Gastonia. I can't control what's going on in Washington.
Right.
I can't control what's going on wherever.
Yes.
But we can sure work to control what's going on, like this room today. I mean, why is an air conditioning company doing a podcast about Gaston's great? I don't know. Why not? I think that's what's happening in Gaston County too, is why not us?
I like that.
Why can't we have 20 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago, there seemed to be a lot of attitudes that this is just the way it is. This is the way it's going to be. But something has changed in the last few years with, frankly, people like you doing things that make this, why not us? We can,
I totally agree.
we can have.
I love that perspective.
Yeah, so I think that's what it is, and looking closely, and instead of trying to change things in somewhere else.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Is that old parable where the kids walking along picking up starfish and putting them back in the ocean. And somebody asks them, "What are you doing? You're not going to be able to take care of all those, but the one I'm taking care of, is going to be impacted, right?"
I love that.
But that's what I mean. That's hard to keep that perspective and realize that the things we are doing day to day are making a difference. And because we're in the middle of it, we can't look back 15 years. It's hard to see the progress when you're in the middle of it.
It is.
Wow. So
great words from you too.
Well,
Serious.
thank you.
Good stuff.
So again, this is ultimately our goal here, having you on, is to make more people aware of the organization, Kingdom Men of Gaston County. So how can our listeners go? There's a great website. What is that? You mentioned Facebook page. How can they, learn more, get involved, donate, whatever the case may be?
Well, we would love to walk with anyone on their journey. If we could be helpful at all, they can go to kingdommengaston.com. So it's kingdommengaston.com. They can go on Facebook to Kingdom Men Gaston, and on any of those spots they can contact us if they got questions, if they got want to test drive anything. They can donate on the site, but that to me is never a first step. That's always
absolutely
a step. But I'm also proud of what we're doing, and if people want to be a part of that, then they can support it. We promise that we will steward their gifts wisely. We will. And certainly, if anybody's listening to this and they say, "Man, my pastor or my boss or somebody needs to hear about this," man, get on there, get my contact info, and I'd be happy to come and talk to any leader like that and give them 5 minutes or 30 minutes or buy them lunch and tell them about it. And if it spurs something in them and they say, "Yeah, we want to be a part of it," and we'd love to get more leaders involved, more people involved, and honestly, just stay out of the spotlight. Especially if you come to some of our events now, you see I'm on stage very little. I don't need that. I don't want that. I love helping other people be successful. So we want to make those pastors the heroes. If we can lift up a men's ministry in a church or in a company and let them be the heroes, man, we'd love to partner with people and do that.
Are there any events coming up this fall or next spring that are already planned, or is that something you have to go to?
They're in the works.
Okay.
We're looking at trying to have an outdoor one at the pavilion this fall, make it more community oriented. Okay. We have a potential end of August one, which we're waiting to hear back from 2 of our newer churches. So I'm hoping next couple of weeks to unveil some more stuff that's coming up. Our small groups are ongoing. Our service day definitely is in the fall. So yeah, people can just check that out and be a part of any of those things they want to, or just kind of watch from a distance. And
So listeners, stay tuned and kind of go to those. You can check in on those Facebook and website to see maybe some upcoming events. So I'm going to, like I normally do, I'm going to finish up with my own book recommendation and my quote or thought for the week.
Nice.
And so this is actually a book, I just read it, but it was recommended to me a long time ago. I think it's roughly 20 years old. It's a book called It's Your Ship by Michael Abrashoff. I apologize to him if I'm mispronouncing that, but he was a captain of a Navy ship called the Benfold, and he turned it into literally what was considered the best ship in the Navy in the mid 90s. And it's a leadership book, and just kind of goes through what he did. And boy, it really relates to, I'll tell you, it relates to any leadership organization, church, community organization, a business. But it was one that was really impactful to me. And since we're recording this, of course, this is going to come out many weeks after July 4th, but we're recording this the week of July 4th. And the quote that I kind of hang on to every year for this week is from Thomas Jefferson, who said, and I actually had somebody tell me this might not be exactly right, but that's what happens over time as quotes can get changed. But what I have is Thomas Jefferson said, "The cost of freedom is eternal vigilance," which to me just means got to pay attention. Freedom is something that I'm afraid we take for granted here, especially here in the U.S. I personally believe that we've got it better than most places in the world. Yes. And so not many places maybe we could have a podcast like this and talk about the things we talk about. So, so keep that one in mind in the coming weeks.
Wow, that's good.
And so to our listeners out there, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. And please continue to spread the word if you can about the podcast. And don't hesitate to contact us at our email, which is podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We are always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And please follow us on our social media platforms and give us that good 5-star rating. If there was such thing as a 6 rating, I'm sure this episode would get that. Anything below that, we just, you can just move on to the next one. Thanks again to Matt Vanderbilt for being our guest today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Amy Anderson from GSM Services and edited here locally by the Sumner Group. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.